Hey, okay, I think we're live. I don't know who hit go live. I don't know if it was me. I may have accidentally hit go live, but we're live.
Wasn't me.
That sounded like Jason knowing that he was the one who hit go live and claiming that it wasn't.
No, I mean I was gonna hit go live, but I was trying to see if I could play a intro video to cue this up. Normally I try to play like a 30-second because stuff doesn't always immediately go live, even when it says live up there, especially if we're going to like a bunch of destinations. I think we're going to like 5.
Oh yeah,
I mean, we could always do our own intro video, like whoop whoop whoop. Here's Connor, Tara, and Jason talking about stuff that makes us sassy. Y'all, okay. I'm in a great mood today. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tee this up here. So first, welcome. We kind of threw this together last second. Tara had pinged me and said she wanted to do content about something that had happened in the channel. I said I also wanted to do content. So I said, what if we just did a live stream? And then she's like, anyone else that wants to talk? So I sent it out to a bunch of people I know. And I knew Connor would probably be willing to weigh on this. He's also not shy. So why don't we intro? Connor, go. Oh, I don't hear you. You're muted.
I don't hear you.
What about now?
Yeah, you're
there
good.
You go.
Am I too loud? I am the co-founder and CEO at Fin Security. Been doing this for 4 years. I've been in the MSP industry for 4 years, and I don't have a career before that. I was in college, so that's my entire. There it is. That's all my CV.
Tara.
And now I feel old. Thanks, Connor. I'm Tara with Immybot. I'm Director of Community Engagement and Events, and I ran an MSP before coming over to Immybot, the one that spun off Immy. I have been in this industry for 12 years, on the SaaS side for about a year and a half, maybe.
Jason Slagle, President of CWR, MSP, Toledo, Ohio. God, if we're doing that, you guys are all kids. I have been in the channel MSP industry for 12 years now. I have been in IT for 26. So 27 now, actually. Ooh. Yeah, I'm officially old. So I want to talk about kind of what predicated this. Earlier this week, a vendor salesperson posted a video on LinkedIn. I'm not going to call the individual out because I don't believe drawing attention to it benefits any of us. And additionally, he's since deleted the video. In this video, which was titled, "I got banned from 5 MSP communities in a day," he comes in, basically indicates he went in spamming, knew he was violating terms of service, got banned from these 5 communities, and then was complaining that MSPs hate salespeople and we all suck because of it. And his life is terrible and things aren't great. That triggered me. So I didn't even see this, right? Because while I am connected to this individual on LinkedIn, I don't ever interact with them. So like the algorithm doesn't think we should know each other. So it didn't even bubble up. This was brought to my attention via several channels, right? And because of that, I engaged with the guy in comments. He dismissed it. Then, as one does, you start escalating. You make me angry, I escalate. And we started escalating to other people and started talking to other people. And in the end, it ended up all the way, I think, to the founder of his company, who I don't think told him to take the video down, but he did take the video down. He probably got a stern talking to. But I wanted to talk about the practice, right? Because I think there's a flaw in his line of thinking. I don't think MSPs hate salespeople. I think MSPs hate shitty salespeople. And I think there is a fine distinction here.
I think part of the video that frustrated me was, I think he may have said, because you sent me the video, was that they are shitty buyers or something to that extent. And I was like, no, they're incredibly intelligent and well-versed in what they're doing. They're not shitty. They just understand like these crappy sales tactics you're trying to do. Like that's the problem here. It's not you as a human.
Yeah. Connor?
I watched some of this video. I was trying to draw upon like the last 4 years, going from me being the only salesperson here to hiring salespeople to it's like, I know what it's like to have folk that work for you in sales at a company. And it is I believe Alex Farling, for those of you who don't know, said it like super clear. It's like, it's a really dangerous thing. when the brand that you've spent years and years and years of your life very carefully cultivating can be ruined in 30 seconds by somebody who doesn't share the same vision for how you should present yourself in a community. And so I think it's a super difficult thing. I think sales in general is hard, and I think the majority of salespeople are just bad at sales. And I think honestly, salespeople would admit that. It's like if you were to ask them, nobody thinks it's themselves, by the way, which is more of a human thing than a sales thing. If you were to ask salespeople, it's like, are you a part of the bottom 25% or bottom 50? To be like, oh, hell no, that's the other people at my company, or that's those people over here. When in reality, it's like, well, this is probably normally, the skill is probably distributed normally. That might be too bold of an assumption. It's like you should probably look inward before you start to claim that you are or are not the problem here.
I mean, Tara, I think you said it in a post that everyone's a hero in their own story.
Yeah.
Was that you?
Yeah, I've said it before.
Right? Like it's very easy to always view that you're on the right side of everything, right? And I was actually just in another context, one of the organizations I'm a member of, we had a board meeting last night, right? And one of the things that came up is perception is reality in almost all of these cases, right? So whether or not you believe you're doing the right thing, if the community as a whole is judging that you're doing the wrong thing, it's probably time to reflect inward. It's probably not the case that you're actually in the right here and that you're actually doing the right thing, even if you believe you are.
Well, and it's funny because in that post, he even admitted he didn't do the right thing. He admitted that he broke the terms of service or whatever the rules are.
Yeah.
And the reality is the people who've built these communities, I mean, you're on the board for MSP Geek. We know the people who run most of these communities. They've spent a long time building these communities, are incredibly protective of them.
Yep.
And so you break the rules, you're going to get banned. Like, it's not rocket surgery here.
Yeah. I think a lot of people also forget it's like you don't even need to break the rules for most of the community to willingly disengage with you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is like I'm trying to think of a famous somebody. It's like getting exiled is just as bad as being put to death. I was actually reading a historical account about like how it's essentially the same thing. It's like there are many people in this community whom all of us are aware of. It's like, oh, do not associate with these people because they don't want to associate with the community in ways that are beneficial for it.
Yeah, I can give example. I have specific examples of that, but I don't know that it's any benefit here for us to name names. Mm-hmm. I mean, the behavior that we talked about here, I don't think we talked about what he actually did to get banned, right? So he joined, I will give it to you from the MSP Geek perspective. I can also give it to you from the Reddit perspective because of conversations with Kelvin, who is one of the moderators over there. On the MSP Geek perspective, he joined our Discord with the username of Bernie Fans OnlyFans, or Bernie Sanders OnlyFans. Dropped into our MSP General channel and then immediately started spamming links to a webinar that his company was offering. We actually, honestly, he got banned as a bot. He didn't even, because you can view that we have some admin tools. We can see that he sent very similar, like we're in communities with him. We can see he did it in 2 or 3 other communities that we're members of, right? We thought he was a bot. He got banned as a bot, not as a human that was doing bad things. On the Reddit side, he did the same thing. He went and posted over there with an account, actually 2 different accounts. But even more grossly on the Reddit side, he was also pretending he was an MSP and then linking to his company's products as recommendations, pretending to be an MSP.
I often wonder if we could see the IP addresses of Reddit. I know this is like super dox people. Like, I wonder how much of commentary in MSP Geek and in the specifically r/MSP Discord and Reddits is just vendors with fake accounts. This actually just came up with a specific vendor that we won't name that all of us are incredibly aware of that had many, like it came out that this was actually a strategy of theirs, which is just boggles my mind. I'm so scared of like, it's like, is there an employee of mine who knows that I wouldn't be with that and would do it anyway and not tell me because they know that I wouldn't, like, I don't know. It scares me. It's like, do not do that.
So it's funny. We actually have a rule internally that we don't like engage unless somebody pulls us into it or like comments Darren directly. We'll let our users talk to him or whatever. But if anyone was doing that with us, I mean, I don't even know how we would handle it, honestly, because that is you lose so much trust immediately, right?
Yeah.
And all of this stuff is built on trust.
Well, I like this here. Excommunicated is likely worse simply due to irrelevance, right? Like we've definitely irrelevanced people. Like, and you feel bad about it. Like, I mean, I feel bad honestly because I believe this fellow got his hand slapped pretty hard by his co-founder, and I'd like to make it a learning moment. Originally, there were some discussions about doing a webinar to talk about it and making it a learning moment, but I got a very non-apology apology from the guy that did it, and I did not want. There's no benefit for getting on a live stream with this guy and debating, right? Because at worst, it makes me look like a bully. Like there's no upside for any of us here if we do that. So I declined. Florian wants to know if he was trying to get banned in record time. I believe it was measured in minutes on MSP Geek. So that I mean, other than the blatant like crypto scammers, that's got to be pretty high to the top of the record times there.
I will say somebody brought it up to me the other day when we were talking about it, and they were like, was this his goal? Because that post definitely caused a stir.
100%,
right?
It was his goal. But like, I'm a large believer in FAFO. F around and find out. And I believe he thought he was running at like a 3 on the 1 to 10 scale, and I believe it escalated to like an 8 or 9. And there's definitely some finding out that's happening here. So let's pivot this, right? Like we've been overtly negative on this, which is totally on brand for me.
Not for me,
but not for the rest, not for the two of you, right? So you're here as positive influences today.
I was thinking earlier, it's like if we had to introduce each other, it's like, what would I say about Tara and what would I say about Jason? It's like, I don't know about Tara's specific role at Imibot. I do know that she wears sequence hats everywhere and she pretty much hugs everyone she meets. It's like, that's the shit I'd be mentioning. It's like, how should you introduce Tara? It's like, look for a sequence hat anywhere you go and you'll probably find Tara not far behind.
Usually under the hat, actually, Connor.
Well,
not
I've seen you give it to other people to wear.
To take pictures. Yes, that's true. All right. So how are we going to spin this positively, Jason?
Okay.
Where are we going?
So I have, right. So you guys are both essentially, you run companies, right? You're on the vendor side of this. I'm on the MSP side of this, although I'm so vendor adjacent at this point that it's really hard to blur those lines sometimes. I'd like to talk a little bit first about how the community and the channel, while this is largely not true, it is also sometimes true. We are a lot smaller than people think we are, right? So people come into the channel and they're new and they're like, well, I can afford to piss off a small percentage of these people because in the grand scheme of things, there are so many that it doesn't matter if I piss a few off. I think that while there are 30,000 MSPs and we only ever interact with maybe 2,000, 2,500 of them directly, that 2,000 to 2,500 represents a very large buying power of mature MSPs, right? I believe that the mature MSPs generally find their way to community, at least peripherally. So I think it's a really dangerous thing to have the mindset that like, oh, it doesn't matter. In the law of large numbers, all of this falls out because people talk. I mean, this has been a back channel discussion in at least 4 or 5 groups I'm in since Tuesday or Monday when it happened.
So the channel itself, I mean, is large if you include everything else, but the MSP channel specifically, seems relatively small because the people who are in it are so vocal too. Like those main, whatever you want to call them, the people who are going to events, the people who are out here making live streams or whatever. And you get on the bad side of one of them. I'm terrified of Jason. I gotta be honest. Like this is a man I'm definitely afraid of. Because what? Sorry. Go ahead, Connor.
I'm not scared of Jason, not because like he is not a person who will tell you. He will tell you the truth, and it usually means you need to hear it. And if you're not a shitty person, you won't get the shitty Jason. Is how I phrase it. It's just like
and typically he'll come to you first, so he'll give you a chance to like correct it, right? But yeah, the people who are vocal in here are so incredibly vocal. And what I think about with all of this is like, I don't know if you know this, Connor. I think Jason now knows. Imibot doesn't have a sales team. And we have almost 800 clients without a sales team. So the community out here they're pushing our product. They're telling their friends about it. Like they talk. We have clients we've never met before that are literally across the globe, the furthest place from us. Like it's true. And they will talk negatively, but they'll also talk positively about you, especially if they love your team and love your product. They will push it.
Connor, I think you've benefited from this quite a bit, right? Like you've been, I mean, it's great that you two are here because I believe you've both been community-led growth, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think
100%.
in Connor, you've definitely also benefited from the positive tell your friends aspect of all of this.
For sure. And to be really, I tell this to all of my employees, and I also tell it publicly. Like, being community first is not an altruistic endeavor. I very much recognize that there are a ton of benefits that my company can get, and I can personally get. One of which is great friendships. Some of which is just this purveyance of like goodwill into the community that I would like to be a part of and I would like to serve. So it's like, oh, if I'm a good person, I'm not doing that out of the kindness of my heart completely. And I think, one, we should all recognize that. But when we started Finn, it was right when COVID happened. Like literally, like we started in December of 2020, which whenever I can't remember years. We started the December right before the March of the lockdowns.
2019.
Okay, and but you were basically MVP when I met you, which was 2021 IT Nation Secure.
Yeah. And so the entirety of our first year and a half, first 2 years was being in online communities. I remember like the first thing I did was join an MSP Geek After Dark thing that you invited me to. And you're like, Connor, we're going to pen test the shit out of your platform live. I was like, I was already like 3 IPAs deep. So I was just like, I am not sober enough for this conversation. It's too late at night. I was like sweating. Everything ended up fine. But like, yeah, it was what started I think I mentioned this to you privately the other day, Jason. It was like, I think there's a huge difference between hey, I need your help, and then actually meaning it. Be like, I don't know how to do this. I'm asking you to tell me how to take time out of your day to tell me, versus people who ask for help and then won't take it.
Yeah.
It kind of leaves a really bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of this is I popped this up there. I'm pretty sure Tara's commenting on some LinkedIn post from another persona here or something. I'm not that scary, right? Like, don't do dumb shit. And I typically won't have a problem with you. And if I have a relationship with you, as you pointed out, I always back channel first. Right. Like if I back channel and feel strongly about it and you're not willing to engage in a discussion and the behavior continues, then I will very much blow things up and go public with it.
And had that been my comment, I would have called you a golden retriever first off. But golden retriever energy, Jason. But I have actually thought, because I think very highly of kind of what you and like the Matt Lees of the world think. And when we make a decision on something, or I make a decision on something, or who I'm going to work with, I actually am like, would Jason and Matt be mad at me if I did this thing? Like, am I going to get a text being like, what the hell are you doing, Tara?
But,
which I think is a good thing, because you have, you know, I don't know, you guys stand for something, I suppose.
Yeah, but I do, like, I am an overt asshole. Just there's no other word, right? I can be really grumpy and really mean to people, and occasionally I got it wrong and I land on the wrong side of it, but I try to do it out of respect for the industry. Like, you are my people, right? The channel is my people, and I will fiercely defend my people. But I do try to do it with empathy, right? I'm attempting to get you to a point where you're going to change the behavior and to be a behavior that I think better aligns with the community. It better aligns with me for sure. And I think that everyone should do that, right? Lead with empathy. Don't come in and say you guys all suck because you don't want to buy something, right? Don't join the community with the express purpose of getting value out of it by selling, right? Like, of course you're selling. Mm-hmm. Everyone receives intrinsic value from everything they do. Like, the whole idea that things and people are like 100% selfless. No, there are people that believe that doing the right thing long enough, it will generate net positive results for everybody, right? And yeah, go. You're trying to talk, Tara.
Oh. No, I was just going to say, I talked to Tracy from Huntress a while ago about this, and because I'm relatively new to a community role, and she said community is about giving more than you get. And when she explained it in that simple of terms, that made so much sense. She's like, if sales come from it, great. She's like, but at the end of the day, your job is to be in the community and to support these people.
Yeah, I spend probably 20% of my time engaging with community, right? Either on
Mhm.
MSP Geek, the CompTIA stuff I do, literally zero financial benefit to do that. None of the stuff I do pays me. None of the stuff I do directly influences any sales to the MSP, right? It's not like I'm a vendor out receiving money for it. It's not like I'm in the channel doing it. I do it because I want to make the community better. My self-centristic reason is immature MSPs that do dumb things are going to be the thing that tank our industry. So if I can make them better, then maybe it doesn't.
No, it's true. A statement I think I've said this a couple of times now is like, this industry will exist at the mercy of the bottom quintile, and you can define that however you want. But it's like the people that are willing to take the most risks with the least education when it comes to people's cybersecurity are the people whom regulatory bodies are going to use as examples to set
Yep.
restrictions on you,
100%.
even if you're not a part of it. Just 20%. Yeah, to be honest.
Calvin.
So the next thing here, right? I think that is relevant to deal with is I think it's on salespeople in general, if they're trying to engage with the community, is to observe before you act, right? And learn to meet people where they're at, right? So like people have ways that they're willing to interact with you, right? Like, and learn the style of the community that you're joining, right? If you come into MSP Geek and you start dropping spam immediately, we will be there with pitchforks. You're probably going to get banned because it's against their terms of service, right? But there are communities where that's more okay, right? And it's in some of the Facebook groups, like I believe IT business owner groups or everything MSP. One of those on Monday, people are allowed to make marketing and sales posts, right? Like but I think it's on you as the provider of that information to learn what the community wants and where they're at, and it's not on me, the receiver of that information, to ignore it. Or right, like I consider this how much effort goes into your side versus the side of the receiver, right? So I generally don't have a problem with cold calls. You can cold call me all day, right? I'll tell you to stop cold calling me, and I will expect you will honor that request. But for every minute that I spend talking to you, you are also spending a minute.
Yeah.
Right. If you send out a spam email, then you've taken 30 seconds to a minute to all 20,000 people you've sent it to, and it only cost you the couple minutes it took to write it.
Asymmetric law of bullshit refuting.
Yep.
Or whatever Tom always says. Or whatever wherever he stole it from. Now I'm trying to quote 3 different people deep.
Yes. Operator quote.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm curious about your thoughts on that, right? Like the effort, right? Like consider the meeting people where it's at.
I think it is a very terrible sales position to start engaging a community by saying how much they hate you. It's like, it's probably a great way to just be either ignored or actually hated. It's like the people who, like that meme of the person with the stick in the bike. They're like, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe that person passing by just did that. It's like, wait, you did that. I think there's a lesson to be learned there. It's like, in my mind, a lot of sales is just dealing with being rejected all the time. Much of life is just dealing with rejection in a really positive manner and understanding that it doesn't really have much to do with you. It's just, that's the way the world works. Much of being a founder is that. Much of being a person is that in general. Much of relationships is that. And I think in order to be a great salesperson, especially one that will be accepted in this community and have success, is you need to start with, like, most people are going to reject you. That's not true of this community uniquely. That's true of everyone that is getting sold to. But then to come into a community, be like, you rejected me, you're the issue. It's like, that's like, I don't know. It's like somebody coming up to me on the playground as a kid and being like, I don't like you. It's like, I've never seen you in my life. What? Okay.
Sure.
All right. Sure.
Okay. I mean,
you're going to get in your mom's minivan and you're going to leave, and I'm never going to see you again.
I don't
See
like
ya.
you now either, because clearly, we can just mutually agree that I don't like people that come up and immediately tell me they don't like me.
Yeah. Or even then,
You could be like me. I just run up and I'm like, you're my new best friend. Hi, Jason. Let's be friends.
I was thinking about this the other day in relation to you, Jason, because it's like, what do you do with people when you realize they are not capable of changing their mind? To give you to make it more succinctly, I view this whole instance as well as like a person who is willing to do what you just stated, make a video like that, act like that, like believe all of this, and then do it all publicly. It's probably not very willing to change their mind.
Yeah.
Maybe they are. It's like, what should you do? In my mind, it's like, I have my own piece to worry. The asymmetric law of bullshit refuting again. Tom's here. Yeah.
So
Brindley's law. So
it's right here. That is the law.
yeah.
So in general, a couple of things, right? Like I will tell you exactly how I reacted to this guy. I gut check reacted like, okay, what's this company? Who knows everything? I repeatedly got told by everybody I talked to that Jeffrey Newton, one of the co-founders, is actually a really awesome, nice dude. Right. So I'm like, okay, so this isn't representative of his company's values. Right. So then my immediate next thing to do was to reach out and, engage him about it. Right. His whole thing was, let's lead with this being a learning opportunity. Again, I said earlier, I wasn't going to do that because I don't see an upside. But then the last piece of this, and then this will be the last I probably think about this individual, is can I make the community and the public aware of the behaviors so that more people don't fall into that trap? Once that's done, he's dead to me. Like if I never talk to him, like I don't block or unfriend people on LinkedIn unless they're very spammy, but I probably just won't ever interact with the guy again. Like it takes a long time to earn my trust. Right. And that's not true. I'm actually way more trusting than I think most people realize. It takes a long time to earn my inner trust. It takes not a lot of time to lose it. And once it's lost, it's very hard to get it back.
I think it's true of company brands too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just to chime in on this, I mean, this video is basically the end for me as well, right? Because that person reached out to me with a very fake apology and I wrote them back with, this could have been a learning moment. I really hope that you listen to people who've been in this industry a lot longer than you and take the chance, because the MSP space will give you a lot of grace. I have made a lot of mistakes and get very good at apologizing, and people will give you another chance. You just don't double down on it.
Yeah. I mean, Kelvin spilled Malort on Connor and they're still talking.
I mean, Kelvin's
Jason brings Malort for people to drink. So Kelvin too.
Kelvin's recollection of that event was the Malort became sentient and decided to attack me and had nothing to do with Kelvin. All right. I mean, we should all fear the man whom even Malort obeys.
We all make mistakes, right? So I think it's bad to generally judge somebody on a single bad mistake they make, right? Like, but there are patterns of behavior, and there is the ability to learn from a mistake, right? So like that's why I pseudo engaged with a couple of people about it, because if this guy had clearly shown that he was willing to learn from the mistake, then it's like, okay, let's talk about it and move on. Yeah.
I mean, there was a very similar mistake that we made at Finn, not relating to this, but in relating to some sales tactics, where we started calling people whom we didn't know. We had gotten their contact information via duplicitous means because we were lied to about the source of the information that we had bought. And my response was to stop all calls, remove that information from our CRM, and then go to the community, be like, hey, if you got called, it's like, DM me, yell at me. Don't talk to my employees about this shit, please.
Yeah.
They're doing what I told them, and we didn't. And this is what happened. And everyone was like, oh, we're sorry for yelling at you. Thank you for doing this.
But you took ownership of it, right? That's the difference.
Yeah. You have to own it. Yeah. I mean, what is Malort? You don't want to know. If it's ever
it's
offered
alcohol.
You, the right answer is no. It is alcohol. It's not good. I will tell you it's not good and still give it to you.
It tastes like hairspray and pennies. Anyway.
What did I... Gasoline and WD-40.
Gasoline soaked Band-Aid.
Yeah.
That's the best description. God, where were you going with that before?
But you took accountability, Connor. That's where we're at. So that's the difference, right? You owned that you made a mistake.
And I was literally just having this conversation yesterday with another vendor in our space that one of the other vendors or consultant started getting unsolicited emails from various people from around IT Nation that she didn't engage with. And as it turns out, some companies in the space are using some company, I think they're called like Vendalux or something. And they seem to be event lists it's a event list subscription, and I determined via some sleuthing that they're just scraping the app. They register for the event, or they get people to submit them from the apps, right? Because I'm listed as a speaker at IT Nation Connect, right? Like, I'm not on any of those lists, and I know for a fact that ConnectWise does not sell them. But this vendor didn't realize that, right? Like, and I think now that it's been given to them that that's not right, then they won't engage in the behavior again. I think Infoma did the same thing, right? Like, they sponsored an after party for MSP Geek Year 1. They got a lead list of people that had agreed to, by going to the party, to receive emails. As it turns out, the guy providing that list scraped the event app and sent all of the attendees, and not just the ones that attended the party. They emailed it, and the community MSP Geek had pitchforks.
That was after that person confirmed that no, they had not done that. They had not scraped the conference app, and it was only people whom because I was a part of it, whom we had bought drinks for and bought dinner for and had met at the event. So it's like, sometimes the right people to get mad at aren't the people who end up receiving the brunt of the issues. But I don't know, go in the community, talk about it.
But they owned it, right? They leaned into it. They apologized, right? Like, and so we move on, right? The provider of that list, because they don't seem to be willing to change that behavior, is persona non grata to me. Like, I just won't deal with them or engage with them at all.
Yeah.
So, cool.
Makes sense.
Final thoughts. I think we've been running about a half hour here. I got lunch to eat.
I have some final thoughts, largely around this. I think a lot of lessons are not unique to this industry. The more I think about them, I think a lot of people have the desire to classify people who they don't consider, I don't want to say likable, as others. It's like, oh, I'm not like them, so I don't like these people. I do think salespeople sometimes get lumped into that category of, I'm not like these salespeople, largely as a result of just the amount of bullshit sales that happen. And I think I don't think that has anything to do with the people. I think it has everything to do with just an individual's desire to be like, like you had said, I am the hero of my own story. I think if more people were introspective, not only those who were doing the selling, but those who were receiving the selling, of like, oh, are people shitty on purpose? The answer is yes, but almost always it's ignorance. Do not attribute malice to action. What ignorance will do is something I live by. That's what I would say. Take away from this: attribute ignorance to action, not malice, and then give people the opportunity. When they double down, though, it's like, all right, free game. But
I've heard that quote a lot recently, Connor. Oh my gosh,
Hammond's razor.
I don't know.
I think
razor. For me, my suggestion would be is, if you're new to a community, it can be anyone, not just the MSP space. Don't come in like a bull in a china shop. Don't hard sell. Don't act like you know everything, because you really don't. Like, you have to take the time to learn the people, your users, to make sure you're providing them with the value before you try to do anything that we all witnessed this week. I mean, on top of that, you said introspection. I constantly ask, am I the problem? Because there are times I am the problem. Everyone's got to look a little more internally here, guys. Because going in and just lashing out against an entire community is not going to get you anywhere.
Cool. I have one from both sides of it, I think. So from the receiver side, actually, they're both similar, right? Like, treat people how you want to be treated, right? Like, the number of MSPs, or better than you want to be treated, the number of MSPs that both engage in cold calling and then complain that they get cold calls boggles my mind. We cold call, and I don't mind getting cold calls, right? Like, if everyone generally approaches this with, if I was on the other end of this, and I tell my service desk this all the time, right? If you were on the other end of that ticket, if a vendor had done this to you, would you be in Slack complaining about it? If that is true, then you've messed up. Right. So on the receiving side, I think you need to think about that, right? If I flip the script, right? Like, if I was engaging in this behavior, would I expect people to complain at me? Okay. If the answer is yes, then correct. If they double down, then burn it to the ground. And then on the sending side, yeah, I mean, consider the same thing.
I mean, we got started by buying bottles of Buffalo Trace and telling people we'd mail that to them if they'd do a demo with us. That's actually how we got demos. It wasn't from cold calling. It's like I bought so much alcohol. My mom, thinking about checking me into rehab. It's like, please take these off my hands.
I mean, we tested our product on people who let us break their stuff before Immibot was like a full-blown product. And then once it started becoming a real thing and it worked well, they started suggesting it to their friends.
Yep.
All right.
Okay,
well,
cool.
salespeople need some training on how to work in the MSP space too, I think. So.
Yeah, I think we can get there. I think that MSP Geek kind of tends to do that. It's just a matter of getting all the ducks in a row aligned so that we could offer. I think during the pre-day slot, we actually want to eventually offer those sorts of sessions. Get grumpy people like me up there telling them what's going to make me burn to the ground.
Has
offset it with happy people.
Yeah. Has somebody submitted a talk to? I'm not saying I'm the best at any of this. I actually have no training in sales at all. But it's like, here's what we did to launch ourselves into this community. If you're a vendor, think about doing more shit like this.
That's okay. And that could actually be a really good panel. You could have some people who maybe they have backgrounds in sales and some people who don't, like you or myself, Connor. Like I don't.
I am not on the content committee this year, but I would say that I would probably attend a panel, basically an AMA style panel where like all the technicians and stuff could get a panel of salespeople, and it could be an entire discussion. I'd probably even offer to moderate it to try to get feedback both directions. I think that would actually be really good, and really good even for the target audience of technicians, because like they get called to. I don't know. That's a good idea. You should do it. Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. Call it
Connor, go ahead.
Junker Jason or something. Yeah. Just Jason has a big red buzzer. That was shitty.
I'm coming with shot collars. If you give an answer I don't like, I shock you.
Well, we might have to get the you might have to get the hotel's approval for that one.
Yeah.
Couple of wartime laws that might prevent you from doing it. I don't know.
Okay, well, let's wind this down, and thanks for joining. Thanks, Tara, for giving me the idea, and congratulations on completing your first live stream.
It's so scary. Well, thanks for being on it with me, guys. I appreciate it, and thanks for running it, Jason.
Cool. Yeah, we'll talk to you guys later.